changing from a cocoon into a caterpillar, from a caterpillar to a butterfly. The metamorphosis is here, it's live. Metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, word, sound and power, music, drumming, current affairs, everything to grow and lift up your mind. Metamorphosis.
No more youths and youths for sale. We get wise and don't decide to change their style. Bobby wrong, keep your empty promises and your crooked smile. Metamorphosis, come with your thoughts, change your way of thinking. Metamorphosis, the change begins with you.
Men apartheid, black men of Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Alexandria gave the light of civilization to this world. Ethiopia shall stretch forth her hands unto God, and princes shall come out of Egypt.
Guide I, it's the voice that sets me free. Guide I.
Good evening, I'm on Black.
Good evening.
This is Pauline from St. Mary. Calling to big you up on your program. I am a disciple. I've been there since almost the inception.
Guide I, it's the voice that sets me free.
I just you may have to tune into because, me always even watch some other television and stuff and that I have to see for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
How my one God one machi kumbachna Africa da fabachna kidafanya kidafarafet one machi kibunjul kidafarunjul one yande kesawai kidafarunjul one machi kibunjul kidafarunjul dafnin rafet yom wentamenda ingama dafnin rafet yom wentamenda ingara dafnin rafet yom wentamenda ingara. Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud.
Time, space, and mind. The basic dimensions of reality. Sound, movement, and thought. The basic responses of I and I. Metamorphosis.
Well, good evening to everyone. This is a different voice, not a new voice, because I and I have been here. This is OSAGBORO, and we greet everyone in the world. We greet everyone in Portland from all the different communities that live here and all the different peoples that listen to this great program called Metamorphosis. Again, I am Osayimwese OSAGBORO. Osayimwese means there's only one God. OSAGBORO means God made me whole. So this evening we say good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And we say Akwaba. Akwaba means welcome. We say Tinaistilin. Tinaistilin means welcome, good day, good evening. And we greet all the people in the name of Jah, name of His Majesty. As you see, we wear red, green, and gold all the time because we have to big up all the black countries. We have red, green, and gold on them flag too. It's not only Ethiopia alone have red, green, and gold on them flag, but all the countries of the world. So big up to Boundbrook on the hill, on the hilltop, place where the hosts of this program stay and the ones who give enough sponsorship. So again, welcome. Now we have a lot to go through this evening as usual. We're going to look at the plight of black people on the planet. We're going to look at identity, race, nationality, and gender. And national heroes, because today is Heroes Day. It don't done yet. So today is still Heroes Day. And we see one of the great musicians of Jamaica and the world get an honor today. And what does that mean? And we're going looking at the history of race relations in the US at a time when it is very contentious because there are many peoples in Jamaica who have some serious connections in the US. I doubt if there is any Jamaican who don't have a relative of some kind in the US. Sometimes them all they've know. So them have relative in the US. And at one point, it was stating that remittances provide a whole heap of funds for the Jamaican economy. Second only to tourism and backside, thirdly. So again, we say good evening tonight, still in Akwaba. Welcome to the people of Portland, the people of the whole world. I'm on Black just taking a breezer. Probably go exercise and play some ball. We don't know, as the coach, original. All the people them from Portland who know I'm on Black know say I saw it go. But right now I'm on Black in a different sphere. Resting and hopefully listening in tonight. So again, we greet you in the mighty name of Jah, the name of His Majesty who rule it and reign it over all things. And as we said before, I have bingy upon them tonight. I have bingy. I have bingy. I have bingy. You're going to hear this instrument more time I play because I saw it for go still, you know? And so we're going to hear a little music now and some more reason I will come forward and tell you about the plight of black people on this planet.
We're not change, you know. Solid as a rock. Yes. Today, tomorrow. Yesterday, I said, Bongo man, Congo man, Dread, I, Rastafari, Roots. I talked about Garvey, Pan-Africanism, Socialism, Nkrumah, Ghana, Nyerere, Tanzania, Castro, Cuba, liberation, struggle. Yesterday you said Bongo man, Congo man, primitiveness, dread, outrageous, ignorant, roots. We're not change, you know. Solid as a rock. Yes. Yesterday I said Bongo man, Congo man, Dread, I, Rastafari, Roots. I talked about Garvey, Pan-Africanism, Socialism, Nkrumah, Ghana, Nyerere, Tanzania, Castro. Yes.
All right, now we're going to look at the plight of black people on the planet. In 1392, the Spanish people in the Iberian Peninsula, that is an island in Europe that housed nowadays Spain and Portugal. The people in the Iberian Peninsula decided to come together to expel some black people they call the Moors, because by that time, the 1390s, the Moors occupied the Iberian Peninsula for 700 years. They civilized the Spanish. They gave them even simple things like public bath. They gave them universities and language and culture. They civilized them. But then the Moors were Muslims and the Europeans were Catholics. So there was a serious conflagration now. And from 1392 to 1492, the Spanish launched what they call the Reconquest. To to gain back the Iberian Peninsula from the Moors. In 1492, them eventually forced the Moors into a place today called the Basque region of Spain. And if you observe that in many European countries you have Muslims, you ever wonder how come you have so much Muslims in European countries, but that's a different debate. Anyway, in 1492 now, the Isabella and Ferdinand, one was the ruler of Castile, one was the ruler of Aragon, them get married for political reasons, for unite the country. And them start spread this notion of getting away feudal rule from out of them country and start to unite. And so when Spain unite and force the Moors back and defeat them, by 1492 the society did spent. Because you can imagine you fight a war for 100 years, how you have whole generations of men who all them know for this fight war. So them decide to, them want to find new lands because they want to rejuvenate them countries. So up come a man named Christopher Columbus, and them launch some expedition and come down all over the place. Them end up, because I say end up, I say discover, them end up, they're going to carry it beyond. I saw that's a name, they carry it beyond. And them start to expand them wings. And one way where them expand them wings is by setting up some slavery plantations. And when I say slavery, I don't mean people, I just labor. Because people are not slaves, people are people who come on here. And so when them come on here in the 1492 and them set up them empire, other Europeans start grudge them and start come. Because when the Europeans come on here, them get a whole heap of gold and silver and all kind of minerals from all over the place, from Mexico, from all over the place. And them start wax rich. And for 100 years, 200 years, them rule the roost almost just unilaterally without any intervention until the British come and until the other Europeans come. And incredibly, after a while, the man them launched slavery. We're not going now how them launched that because it's not like say Europeans just suddenly learn how to make sugar out of cane. They may not do that in Europe. And that's the thing that teachers not need to teach them children. Europeans never come down to the West Indies and come make cane down here. It wasn't an experiment. They knew what they were doing. And so in setting up plantations here, them start set up the first global capitalist system. The first global capitalist system. And one professor named Henry Louis Gates launched a series of documentaries to examine how dispersed are black people in the Americas. Because here what? One of the things we must realize, is that during the enslavement of people, over 11.2 million Africans survived the Middle Passage and landed in the New World. And of that 11.2 million, only 450 went to the United States, and where did the rest go? The rest went to all over Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. Brazil alone got 5 million Africans. And a lot of people don't know that outside of Nigeria today, Brazil has the largest black population. And it's also a thing that you must learn. And so South Africans, other countries, between 1872 and 1975, Brazil started to bring in more white people to whiten the country because them say, listen, this place too black. And black people have been scattered all over the world. And so we examine all the plight of black people all over the world because a lot of people don't know about this. Brazil is the second blackest nation in the world. Brazil has so much black people that, as I said before, between 1872 and 1975, over 5 million people from Europe and the Middle East go to Brazil so that they want to whiten the country. But so them things don't work. You can't white out black people. Black people end up in Mexico. How much Jamaicans know say black people in Mexico? Black people in Peru. All you have to do is watch football on TV and you will see how much black people. Say operator, my bridge. Say the other night me I look on I say Honduras a play, Ecuador a play. I say, but wait, black people play for them countries here. Colombia, all of them places there. Black people scattered all over the place. Another place enough black people did go was Haiti. Haiti, within 100 years, over 800,000 people were transported to Haiti. But you know what? Sadly, only about 400,000 people survived. And Haiti became one of the most successful anti-slavery revolt that toppled European nations under the leadership of a man called Toussaint, who, by the way, Toussaint was once a soldier in the French army. Toussaint never just come out of a plantation, become a herbal leader, and led a revolt. And so Haiti is another place where a lot of black people were, millions of black people live. Today, Haiti is a black nation. Cuba is another nation that a whole heap of black people, over 800,000 people, 800,000 were carried to Brazil to be enslaved on their plantations. So much so that even in the wars that were fought in 1859 for freedom, half of the army was black men. Maceo, one of the generals of the army, was a black man. And so a lot of people, they know that. The Dominican Republic, Mexico, Peru, Brazil, Cuba, Jamaica, and then you want to talk about Latin America, you want to see black people all over the place. And then in Asia, look at the TV now and look at the Rohingya people. Look at Indonesia. Look at Sri Lanka. Look at the Seychelles Islands. And you will see people of color. Some Jamaican people love see people with a certain ear texture and call them cool. Look at the Sri Lankans. If you see a light-skinned Sri Lankan, you'd be asking yourself, where I want to come from. So black people have been scattered all over the globe. And we want to ask ourselves these days, what is the plight of the black man in all of these countries in which he has been scattered? What has happened to him? How is he faring socially and economically? And the figures are there, because look at Haiti. Haiti is classified as the poorest country in this hemisphere. But you know what? Haiti is still paying today for defying, not just, and a lot of people must learn this, it's not just France alone Haiti defeat. Because when France was fighting Haiti, France have to sell all Louisiana in the States, have to sell it, to get money for fight the Haitian Revolution. And in France, the Haitian Revolution was not mentioned. Because in France at the time, black people populated France. One at the time, one American president, Thomas Jefferson, had a black woman that he lived with, like his wife. And when he carried to France, he was shocked to see that other European white men in France had black women as their consorts and their wives, and it was a popular thing for them to have black people as them consorts. So Haiti became a place that defeated, and we'll go back again, they defeated France. And in those days, because all of the European countries were fighting in this Caribbean region for ascendancy, for gold, for wealth, to establish the British saw it as an opportunity to try and attack France while they were in Haiti. So, Toussaint defeat the British too. The Spanish were next door. Him defeat them too. So, Toussaint defeated so many armies, defeated the colored armies. In the end, we all know what happened to Toussaint. He was betrayed. But the point is that up until today, Haiti is still paying the price for being so radical in taking away. The country was once called the Pearl of the Antilles. Haiti took away, the black people in Haiti took away the Pearl of the Antilles from the Frenchman, and he was livid. He was livid, and up until it was in 1910 that the Haitians stopped paying reparations. 1920, that them stopped paying reparations to France, millions upon millions of dollars. So it's a serious thing. In Brazil, you have never seen a black man as president in Brazil. Yet, Brazil is such a country of color that people are wondering where are the black people in Brazil. But all you have to do is look at their sporting heroes and you will see where they are. But they are on the fringes. They are not living in a situation where you could say they're benefiting from being in a position of ascendancy. So in Costa Rica, you have black people. On the coast in Mexico, you have black people. In Cuba, in Jamaica, look at Jamaica's population. Look at Jamaica's population. I hear that you can find a few Tainos, few descendants of Tainos in St. Elizabeth, but where are the Tainos? That were the indigenous people, original people, because I don't even know what the word indigenous mean anymore. The original people who built this, who named this place, who named so many other things, who give us words, who give us dishes. Where are they? But they have been replaced by people of African descent. In North America, the situation is such a conundrum that many black people are saying, oh, I'm not African American. I don't even know what I am anymore because I'm mixed. Black people, stop saying they're mixed. I never hear a white man say mixed yet. I never hear a Chinaman talk about him mixed yet. And the black man are the only man who feel like say, it's a badge of honor to say, I am mixed. So what? So what if you're mixed? Peter Touch do over a song, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. No mind your nationality, you have got the identity of an African. Now, because black people were deemed chattel, and the one who know what chattel is, chattel means you are the property of someone else. The European man had invested in black people the idea of chattel, that they were ownership, that they were property. And they were written down as such, you know. Man write down them and say, you're property of Mr. Brown, you're property of Mr. Smith, you have him last name, is him Christian name, him surname, S-I-R name. Take out the U and put I and you so you get S-I-R name. And his religion was his Christian name. So a lot of people lost their identity in the process, especially in Jamaica, the place where they say they brought people to, when they couldn't break them, they left them here. I don't know what kind of spirit people talk about rebellious spirit. So Henry Louis Gates did a project and he looked at all the nations in which black people have dispersed. And he concludes that there were so many people in in countries in the Caribbean and Central America and South America. And to a lesser extent, North America, because the US got not as many people as even Brazil to go there. But Latin America from the 1600s come right up until, because in South America and Latin America, slavery was abolished the latest in 1865. Slavery was abolished in the United States of America, almost 30 years after Jamaica. So a lot has taken place, and the black people are not in a good stead. In the world, almost every country in which black people form a large percentage of the population, outside of Africa, the people are in dire straits. And it has become a novelty for black people to gain power, places of ascendancy in their society. And people belittle people's practices and call it weird. So this is the plight of black people on the planet. And we're going to hear some more sound, because word sound is power in this dispensation.
Customers of Knutsford Express will now be able to travel directly from Port Tony to Kingston via Junction with a rest stop at Paul Wells Gas Station in Otter Bay, effective April 3rd. Services include 2 departures, Mondays to Saturdays, and 1 departure on Sundays. Ticket prices are as low as $1,850. Early morning services will also be offered to cater to passengers with flight arrangements, meetings, embassy appointments, or just to conduct general businesses. Travel with ease and in comfort. The Knutsford Express. Leave the driving to us.
Black 90, production in association with Mansion Youth Club. Present a thing called Big League. You know, says a six-a-side football thing. Yeah, the activity also including domino and them sitting there. You know, so the price of $20,000. On Saturday, November 25th, me, Beanie Man, the king of the dance all with you live. Bigger 5 original Chicky Ras, original Teflon International Squad. At Club Atlantic, admission $1,000. Zaga Zo.
Well, it's here for the first time when Trevor and Shauna presents the ultimate fish fry and bingo party. This one called on December 23rd, 2017 at Sunshine Beach, Port Antonio, Portland. This one is a day and night affair. Ticket price $1,000. Music by less $5,000. Gates open at 11 a.m. Bingo starts at 8 p.m. $800 for VIP tickets sold at the gate with one top shelf drink. Cash prize include $200. Grand cash prize $800. If you need tickets for fish fry, you can contact 877-8003. Tickets are available at Total Port Antonio, Shoppers Pride Buffet, and Texaco Buffet.
For the best quality in sound reinforcement and backlining, Native Audio. We have professional engineers with over 20 years of experience. So call us and we'll take care of your parties, wedding receptions, barbecues, conferences, and small stage shows. Crystal clear sound, Native Audio. Our prices are the best. Call us at 871-5212. That's 871-5212. Native Audio. We make your events audible.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio. For a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge. Beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the MetaMorphOsis with Dr. Iman Black, live on Styles FM, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
All right. So we say it, and so more continue upon this little more because more ask many Jamaicans a question. How many of you can freely say I'm an African? Because that's a very contextual, very contentious, very seriously epistemological problem for enough people. Because Jamaica had various categorizations of color. We know about mulatto and all different categorization, but in Brazil they had 136 different kinds of blackness. In Mexico they have 16. In Haiti they have 98. It's as almost they were obsessed. In America, 1 drop of black blood makes you black. In Brazil, 1 drop of white blood makes you white. Color and them things, they become a serious thing. And one of the most perplexing thing was the way that the white male in these slavery outposts treated the women as just sex toys, I want to call it, and abuse them. So how many Jamaican people are willing to say that we are black? Because there's a word that is used to describe, and I want to just briefly look at that. There's a word that they use to describe people outside of their homeland, and the word they use is diaspora. You have heard it before, it's not a new word. And the word is diaspora. For example, there's a place called Blackfriars Bridge in London. Because another country that have enough black people too. Some European countries have large black populations. France, Portugal have significantly large. And I go back to football again. Yesterday I was watching France play. I think it was a replay. I just buck up on it. And one of the reasons I was watching it, I was counting how much black players on the field. for France. I was counting how much black players on the field for France. And I realized there was only 3 white players on the field. And when they sub a white player, then bring on a black player. Them sub 2 white players and then bring on. So after a while you look on the field, it's a pure black players. One of the greatest black players the world know other than Pele is a man called Eusebio. Eusebio come from Africa and end up a play for Portugal. And is revered as one of them footballers because slavery existed in Portugal. The Portuguese had slavery in Portugal. And so there are European countries too that have large black populations. But you don't hear that or see that in them representative politics. You don't see it in them leadership positions. You hardly see the black people in leadership positions in Portugal. You hardly see the black people in leadership positions in France. Yet, they have large black populations. So outside of Africa, there are diaspora populations all over the earth. And even from before enslavement, black people peopled India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, the Aboriginal people in Australia. Let's look at them. And so the idea is that this notion of diaspora meaning people are scattered outside of their original homeland. Because we have to examine this thing, it's very important. What them call today? Heroes Day, for us to have a sense of who we are. Where did we come from? How did we reach here in this place that we had to gain independence and we still talk about the Queen anyway? Because even today, you see, when name Patrick Allen, I hand out awards to people in the diaspora. So the diaspora now is a word used to describe people who have been scattered outside of their homeland. And the African diaspora, it became popular in the 50s with people like Blyden and other people, W.A.B. Du Bois, and some movements called Negritude out of France and out of Francophone, the Caribbean, not out of France, out of the Caribbean, in some French-speaking black people who live in the Caribbean who develop this attitude. And so this idea of diaspora is a serious thing because in the diaspora now you have many different languages, many different identities being created, because today we're going to look at what is identity, and many different identities being created by people in different diasporas. There are black people, like any other people still, who live out of their original homeland, can meet and cannot communicate. Can meet and can't communicate. For example, how many Jamaicans can go to Cuba and communicate with black people? Cuba is 90 miles away from us, but we can't speak Spanish. If we go there and can't speak Spanish, we see black people and we can't communicate with them. They have different rhythmic movements, they have different... So the diaspora has created all these different things that people have to contend with. Name, language, food, dance, music. But the commonality is that all of this was as a result of globalization, global capitalism being created out of the 1492 project to reconquer Spain from the Moors. And then the man them launch out into the world, and this happened. So the diaspora, while many intellectuals, and especially some black intellectuals, want to speak about since humanity came out of Africa and mankind left Africa and went all over the world, Paul Gilroy would say, oh, we're all Africans then. We're all Africans. White, black, pink, whatever you are, you're all Africans. It's not as simplistic as that. Because what you do is that you destroy the spaces between the people. So there's a lot of problem with the African diaspora. And black people are dispersed in Asia, in Europe. There are 100,000 years of interchange between black people and people from other continents. It's not just 300 years. It's 100,000 years black people have been going from one continent to the next. And as I said, in Europe, Europeans are no strangers to black people. Certain Europeans, probably in Eastern Europe, very far-flung place. But people from as early as Hegel and then Monday did question black people. You'd have a man named Jean-Jacques Rousseau, you know the question the man posed, are these men? Him look upon black people and say, are these men? And from Edward Knox, Hegel, all of these men have been developing philosophies about the inferiority of people of African descent. So it's a very, very important thing. So maybe we're going to spend a whole program now and talk about the diaspora and how people have engaged in the diaspora. But we're going to segue into the whole idea of identity, race, and gender, and national heroes very soon. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to listen to 2 more pieces of music and come forward, because music is the sound the earth make when it's moving towards stasis. I'll come back with a code there.
Shall not enter. These are all along. We walk on a true monster, sipping from the cup of peace. Chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon, chant down a Babylon, chant down Babylon.
So we want to segue into the whole idea of identity, because how does a one framework your identity when there's so much dispersal of people from 100,000 years ago to the Indian Ocean trade to Asia, the Atlantic trade to the Americas, then people who freely move from one place to the next. And so the diaspora can be divided into different stages. And as a result of that, you have people all over the world. Because after you get dispersed and you lose connection, a man in a Jamaica don't know about a man in a Cuba. Even today, in our contemporary times with our Facebook imaging and so, we're on the Facebook and connect with the people we know from long time. You hardly make any new connections with any new one. You don't see anybody in a Cuba and say, oh, I'm a friend that person there. You friend the people them and I'm a friend. So you still have not connected, even using social media and the 21st century technologies, with people in a significant way to share ideas and even to describe and discuss the idea of identity. What is identity? I define identity in my own writings as rootedness. Identity is rootedness. Identity is how you identify with your name, how you identify with the land you live in, how you identify with food, how you identify with culture. That culture, because culture is a broad thing. How you identify with language, how you identify with food, the clothes you wear, the rituals of birth and death. Those are the things. And then what the most important thing is language. Very contentious, because your language is the medium through which you express your innermost thoughts. And if the language that you are speaking in is not one that you are readily comfortable with, you're going to find it very difficult to express your inner self. Because in at the end, it's like you try to think what different man program you to think, which is a serious thing. So identity now is very, very contentious. There are many people who don't want to discuss identity because they don't know how to articulate and configure it. But identity is rootedness. It locates you. When people say, I am Jamaican, and all of you out there who say, I am Jamaican, what constitutes being Jamaican? What constitutes that? Is it a conflagration of your heritage that is here, Indian, European, Chinese? Is it the conflagration of that? Or is it just the African aesthetic alone that defines your identity? Today, every day I pass a certain place where I live, and every day I hear Indian music being played by some Indians. Born in Jamaica, never got Indian yet, can't talk no Indian language, but they know they're Indians. And they can tell you which part their ancestors come from. And when they're getting married, it's an Indian function. So they have held on to those aspects of their culture that identifies them. And that's what identity is. It's rootedness. It's the way you practice your language. It's the way you practice your religion. It's the way you bury your dead. It's the way you go to. It's the way you praise your higher being. You know, that's what identity is. And so when people talk about identity, we're talking about a very serious issues. I mean, I was doing a little research and trying to figure out what is identity. And some people are even trying to calculate it mathematically. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because there are some people among us who don't have any hesitation about what their identity. Let me give you an example. I remember when the 9/11 war, I call it 9/11 war, when they bombed the Twin Towers in New York, and Tony Blair and George Bush became some serious allies in a war, an unjust war. And one of the questions asked of Tony Blair was, why is it that you're such great allies with George Bush? His answer was, and him just said like a matter of 500 years ago, our ancestors went over and started the United States, and so we're brothers. And then he says, so we identify with them. The man just threw it back here 500 years ago. 500 years ago, our ancestors went over, and it's true. And it's true. And so if you leave Africa 300 years ago, 400 years ago, how is it that you have lost your identity? How is it? But you have lost it because it was taken, it was beaten out, it was legislated out, and it was made into some serious things. And so race is another contentious thing. Because scientists especially say that race is a biological term that is used to describe plants, categories of plants and animals, that it is wrong to use race to identify human beings, but that is still a moot point. But it, for me, is not moot. Either from European race or African race or Asiatic race. European, Africans, Asiatic. And everybody dispersed all over the globe. And everybody intermingle with each other. But in the end, it's Europeans, and the various categories of Europeans, Spanish, French, blah, 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 Africans, and Asians. And so race is a very important thing. If race, all the people who tell us that race don't matter, how is it that only certain people are marginalized? How is it that the Rohingya, dark-skinned people? Because when you look at the Rohingya, and I must talk about the Rohingya, I'm kind of disappointed in the Rohingya situation. Because I had Buddhists as some people who were so peace-loving, and when I hear the Buddhists turning against the dark-skinned Rohingya people, I said to myself, look, and people say race don't matter. Look at what is happening in the United States. Colin Kaepernick kneel down and say that him objecting to how people are being brutalized when the anthem is being played, and him turn it into him disrespecting the flag and disrespecting soldiers. And he never mentioned anything about disrespecting the flag. He just said he wanted to highlight the horrible race relations that are in. And so when he says race, what does he mean? What does he mean when he says race? It means that a certain people, black people, and it don't matter the shade of black people you are in America, you know. Them don't have no qualms about that. It don't matter the shade you are. It seems as though the state, not seem as though the state militates against non-white peoples, especially America, because we're going to read to you about how in the 1700s, constitutionally, slavery was made a part of the American laws and regulations in their gender. Another thing where people grapple with all the time. In the modern world of academia, they say gender is constructed. Gender is constructed. You're born with genitals, but you're either male or female. But the maleness and femaleness is constructed and becomes gender. And so there are certain markers that identify gender. For example, how does a man behave? How does a male behave? How does a female behave? How does the society in which you live articulate your maleness? For example, in Jamaica, when a man say him is a dog heart man, or he must have enough woman, is that maleness? Or he must have 10 baby mother, is that maleness? Is that the gender that you want to ascribe to in order to become a man? Or what is it in our culture that has not addressed, and it's very, very tricky and sticky to address it. So people out there who will go call in later upon 453-1444 or text stylefm@gmail.com or go on Facebook stylesfm at Portland and make some comments. Comment about that. What is it that makes a man a man? Is it his ability to procreate? And if that is true, then doesn't a female's ability to procreate makes her a woman? What is it that makes a man responsible? Is it that he has to take care of stuff? Is he the hunter forever? And in the modern world, you still hunt because you have to go get jobs and all anything there and get all of the physical and material things that people associate with being male. Being male. And so, how does a man become a hero? That's another thing. Today is National Heroes Day. Is it that heroes are made when the countries are being born? Because when I look at it, I said to myself, it seems as though at the moment when a country is defining itself, a state, where people have become sedentary now, because at one time you used to have enough little kingdoms, So Portland would be a kingdom with a king, and I'm serious about this. And I doubt if any kingdoms in Europe was as large probably as Portland, because there were so many kingdoms that you wonder what size it is. One city was a kingdom, and a man ruled over it and the king. So let's say we had a kingdom, Portland, St. Mary, all these different places are kingdoms, and people were ruling. How does one become a hero in your kingdom? Is it that when you are defining yourself now and somebody come do a hack, a very, very time-changing and time-defining act that you call him a hero? What did Paul Bogle do that made him a hero? What did Alexander Bustamante do that made him a hero? What did George William Gordon do that made him a hero? What did Sam Sharp do that made him a hero? Are you all aware of what they did, or you just know what they taught in primary school? What did Garvey do that made him a hero? He left writings. And so our heroes only forged at the time when the nation is becoming itself, when it's trying to find its footing so that it can become and emerge and become a safe place for people to live and for people to have a sense of belonging to. So people like Gordon now was the product of a slave owner and an enslaved woman. He bought his mother's freedom and he became a wealthy man. You did, a lot of you out there, did you know that this is the man who was the founder of Victoria Mutual Building Society, George William Gordon? And so he's a wealthy man. But he was a bridge between the assembly that he was a part of and the people who were not part of who were disenfranchised. Well, I use that word, they were disenfranchised. Black people couldn't vote. As a matter of fact, women couldn't vote. The thing about one man, one vote was literally that. Only men voted. Only men voted. And so Gordon was the bridge between the people who were disenfranchised and the assembly. So they made quick to kill him. They wanted to kill him so bad that how many of you know that he was hung on a ship? He never did hang pan land, you know. The man them court-martial him, carry him out on a ship and hang him on the ship. Paul Bogle was a daddy. You know what? In the Baptist church, when a man is made a daddy, he was in charge of a congregation. And Paul Bogle was a man of means. He wasn't a little man who never know and just decide for just walk a stony gut. Just decide for just walk a stony gut and start a rebellion when him come back. No. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. This man was a man of means. He used to preach. He had wealth. Some of the times there are some little slave owners who have dung upon the dumps. Used to borrow money from Paul Bogle. Clinton Houghton will tell you that. And so the response to Paul Bogle's rebellion was brutal. It was so brutal that 300 people died in the space of no time. And this morning, if some of you were listening yesterday on the radio, Sunday, you'd have heard Andrea Williams, Kabu, not Andrea, Kabu, talking about and calling the names of the people who were killed and talking about the response from the Europeans, the British in this case, to the Morant Bay Rebellion. And in the end, how they established the police force. How much on they know so the police force started in St. Thomas. And the purpose of it was to keep the people on the wraps. So at that point, the nation was becoming, and that was a hero. Then there is Alexander Bustamante and Norman Mandel who were exposed to ideas of Fabian socialism in England that were speaking about unions and self-government and social engineering to change the society. And they brought those ideas and they were fighting for political power and they were fighting to form unions for workers' rights. That was their thing. Marcus Garvey was also a student of those ideas. How many of you know that he spent a little time in London going to school? And so he was a student of those ideas. So these men, we're not talking about them first because we soon come forward to Nani. These men were some of the people who were pivotal in helping to define the nation and charting its course. And then there was the Coromantine warrior. The Coromantine warrior named Nani, who, because of her prowess, could dodge bullets. People that see them take her bottom and bounce her bullshit. And she was so ingenious. She moved our communities, and they were almost like nomads. But you know, time caught up, and she too. Where's Nanny? We know where every single hero is, but where's Nanny? Where did she go? Did she fly away? Did she fly away? The Coromantee warriors flew away. Did Nanny fly away? And so these are the heroes that we celebrate. But we soon come talk some more about the heroes, because we want to talk about the Heroes Day and their awards. So Mr. Music will go play one song or two.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-priced promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM, for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar. For the best quality in sound reinforcement and backlining, native audio, we have professional engineers with over 20 years of experience. So call us and we'll take care of your parties, wedding receptions, barbecues, conferences, and small stage shows. Crystal clear sound, native audio. Our prices are the best. Call us at 871-5212. That's 871-5212. Native audio. We make your events audible.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio, for a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge, beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the MetaMorphOsis with Dr. Iman Black, live on Styles FM, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Yeah, we want to come forward a little bit to this personal thing, because we want to be seen that the reason why we have heroes is because people have to fight. You know, the reason you had heroes is because people had to fight. Whether the fight was political, whether the fight was fist and fight or gun fight, whatever fight it was, whether the fight was purely philosophical, people had to fight to establish themselves. Because, I mean, all over Europe, you had black people who were dispersed. Nobody speaks about, most Jamaicans, they've no Spanish people. The genesis of their society, their modern society, was 700 years of rule from people from northwestern Africa called the Moors. Nobody realized that people in Britain, you had black people. In Russia, you had black people. On the Black Sea coast. Why would they call it the Black Sea? The sea no black. On the Black Sea coast, there were so many people, so much black people there that nobody disputes it. There were people all over the world, in Turkey, in Azerbaijan, in modern Russia. There are people all over the place. You know why? Because there were armies and there was enslavement and there was all the thing there. Right? And there were so many different people. Alexander Pushkin, the great Russian poet, his great-grandfather was a man called Abram Hannibal from Ethiopia, who arrived in 1700 and was raised by the so-called aristocracy in there. So people had to fight in the dispersed areas in which they ended up. And so our fight gave us some heroes, and we named them. And a heroine. Because when I say heroes, I think about the lady too, you know. But then probably I'm going to say me sexist by saying a woman is a hero. So, well, all right, heroine. And so the people had to fight for their thing. And so in Jamaica now, we have National Heroes Day. And on that day, we recognize other people who have made significant contribution. And the ones who have made such significant contribution, and we give thanks to them by shaking our our shekere from West Africa. This come from West Africa. From West Africa. In a Jamaica. And so the people who came here had to fight tooth and nail to establish themselves. And today we honor the people. Now, because we're not naming anybody hero anymore, they've used the word icon. I-C-O-N. Icon. So like the iconoclast them where them paint on church wall. Anyway, they call them icons because they don't want to call them heroes anymore. So they call them icons now because why is it that we can't have heroes in this time? Is it that you have to fight for your nation to be a hero? Or you can make a significant contribution that lifts the profile of your nation? So today, Bonnie O'Reilly Livingston, otherwise called Bonnie Wheeler, was given a very high order. I don't really understand them, you know. I don't know which one is the highest. I think the highest is National Hero, so nobody now get that. And then you have must say Order of Jamaica and Order of Merit. I think Bonnie got Order of Jamaica, and them always a commander class or something other class. And every categorization of one of these orders have its own little motto to, you know. So he have a little personal motto where he can say blah blah blah, and him get an insignia, then pin it around him neck and so. What does that mean? Is it just mean status that you now have, that you can call yourself honorable? And what does that bring and do? What does Bonnie Wheeler getting the honor mean for the Rastafari community? Because a significant thing that's in honor, the first Rastaman to get honor. Because no Rastaman get honor. But this is a very high one. You remember this, the man is the first man, you know. We step up for getting him award this man, the very first man. Because them come from the highest right down to some other categories of awards. Them call like commendations for bravery and valor and stuff like that. But his was a very high thing. How does one benefit from getting all of these this accolade? Does it open doors? Is he placed on a list of people who have achieved? And how will the Rastafari community benefit from that? Because in this time of posturing for self, then I don't know. And is it a key to the city? My brethren asked me, I man Black, you out there, listen, sir? Are you write something? I man Black, where there? Give me a link, man. Send a message on the Facebook. One of the people them now send a message to the WhatsApp and to the different thing them. I man OSAGBORO on the item case tonight with a different perspective, different voice, different way of analyzing and looking at people. And so we say the national heroes, are they once in a lifetime? Will we see no one that can make the same contribution as them? Are we to believe that this is that's the nadir of development and contribution that can be made to the society? Would we consider people like our scientists, Manly West and Calvin Lockhart, as heroes? They were the first men to extract in the 20th century, because people used to do it before. In the 20th century, the mid-20th century, medicine from marijuana. Would Usain Bolt be considered a hero? Or is it just because it's just sport? And I find my hand and say it's just sport. Because the fame and recognition that he brought. What is it that we're looking for from someone who is categorized as a hero? Because the more I think about it, the more I realize that, hey, this hero thing is at a point of definition, of self-definition for the country. And it's going to be very hard for anyone to really come into that as something else. But you know it go? Time for some more music.
Some equal rights in these times.
struggle, we've got to find a true religion. Got to make our own decision. In these times of trouble, let's forget our shame and pride. For there ain't no place to hide. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters.
Yeah, as the song said, get up and fight for your rights. And so maybe I saw the heroes did I do it. And I really some serious waging. Look at what Marcus Garvey did. Up until today, and I want somebody to counter it. There has been and there is yet to be an organization as large and as organized and as appealing and as enduring as the UNI at the height of its organization. Marcus Garvey had over 400 branches worldwide, and this is not a figment of the imagination. The record is there to show. The man had 400 branches worldwide. There were only 9 branches in Jamaica. But what he did though was that he left a Liberty Hall in every single country that he set up. And the idea of the Liberty Hall was a meeting place, a place for cultural exposure, a place for entertainment. Marcus Garvey formed the first political party in Jamaica's history. Marcus Garvey came up with the notion of low-income housing, of free education, of maternity leave for women. A lot of the policies that were brought forward in the 70s were Garvey's ideas. And so yes, Garvey wrote, he left his ideas in writing. He left the blueprint of an organization. I wrote a paper called Garvey, the blueprint for the institution building of Rastafari. Because you don't need to build anything anymore now, because Garvey did a lot of it. Bustamante was a serious trade unionist who did a lot of things. He traveled all over the place. He left Jamaica with one name and come back with another name. Now man left from him 11-year-old, him a struggle, him and his mother. At one point he said by the time he was 12 he was as tough as nails. And he was a really fighter in terms of, standing up for people's rights. But that's another discussion again. We want to look at race relations in the USA. We want to look at that. Because this is another set of people. Up to recently I'm looking at a young man, a black man who said, I don't know anything about being African American. There's a famous tennis player. She coming up, she too was saying she don't know. Then there was Tiger Woods who was saying him don't know anything about being. But listen, there were over 700,000. By 2000, there are 700,000 African-born residents in the States, up from 300,000 in 1990. And so there was a different kind of diasporization between those other places. But the US is a very peculiar place because, and this is for the students now who maybe if they're listening, they would know this, that in 1610, some companies, 13 companies were formed in the US in 1610. And the purpose of these companies, because they were formed by British men, when they were formed, they were just doing business. They were a serious part of the triangular trade. Maybe it was a square trade, because a lot of the wood and a lot of the cotton and a lot of the early forging of steel, a lot of machinery was bought from the States, because these companies, these 13 companies, set up in the what we now call the United States. I would love to see what they were calling it at the time, because every company, these companies eventually became the first 13 states. that went to something called the Continental Congress and started to declare independence from England. Only 13 of them, you know. At the Boston Tea Party thing, where they said that triggered it because of something called mercantilism, where the Englishman was deciding that the people in America who were Englishmen must only trade with Englishmen, because they were saying, oh, come and trade in the Caribbean because you're trading with the French and the Dutch and the other people who are our enemies. You're trading with them, so you must trade only with us. And so it never went well with these people. And it caused war. And then from 1610, these companies, these 13 companies were set up in the United States. And I'm using the United States because of contemporary reference to say, you know, what was it that led to this? Because it's a very thing. In 1619, a Dutch colony named Jamestown started to bring food, and when they were low on food, they had some Africans who they captured. You know what the man them do? They traded the Africans for food. That was 1619 in the US. And between 1619 and 1808, 500,000 Africans were brought to the US and enslaved. So the little transaction where them swap people for food ended up being the genesis that led to the enslavement of Africans in the US. By 1787, the institution of slavery was established throughout the United States, and slave populations in North Carolina and Georgia were larger than the white people. And so when the delegates convened to have their Congress now to talk about fight for slavery, fight against British, they were also fighting to abolish slavery. And they knew that if they did that, then it's going to be a large thing. So you know what the people them started to do? They started to make several compromises. They call it the 3-5 compromise. And they passed certain laws and conventions. James Wilson and other men passed several laws. They passed the Fugitive Claims Law. They passed the Slave Trade Clause. They had a famous case, Dred Scott versus Sanford. They had very different cases where they started to carry through the courts the idea that slavery was a legitimate part of their life. And when Lincoln finally decided to proclaim slavery, it never happened until 1868, from 1863. Because you know what happened? People out there were listening. They invented a machine named the cotton gin. The cotton gin. They used to pick cotton. When a man say you're cotton picking nigger, that's what they used to refer to. People used to pick cotton with them hand. But this man them take out some little thing, some of the seeds out of the cotton. And they start to small seed, and they have to pick each cotton ball and take out the seed. And so a man invented what them call the cotton gin to remove what them call the lint from the cotton. And the man realized, but we can't abolish slavery yet, because this cotton gin are going to make the cotton industry explode. And it stopped. It stopped. And you have to wait to free people from slavery. They have to wait again because of that. And so state government, because remember, you know, a lot of people who look at the news today realize that, let me give you an example. Donald Trump said he want to ban people from coming. And Congress want to say they want to ban people. But federal judges say no, and it can't happen, because in America you have this thing called federal laws. And federal laws and state laws, when they come in conflict, there can be no movement. And a high court judge in a state can block a law from happening. So in America now, every state had their own slave laws. Every single state. So if a man run from one state and run to another state, him still could have been enslaved. The only thing people could have done is left America totally and go somewhere else, like Canada, to escape these slave laws. So even the Civil War, the great Civil War that took place in America, where a lot of black men fought in, when the war done, them realized they rotted. Now go back in slavery. Whole heap of thing. And so there was a Civil Rights Act in 1875, it was ruled unconstitutional in the civil rights cases. And the federal government reloaded in 1964 in order to get around the limitation by the civil rights clause. So even up until 1964-65, segregation was ingrained in the American Constitution. Donald Trump born before 1965. I don't say nothing still. I just say that. He born before 1965. So there are a lot of men in America today, white men in power, who are used to having those kind of terrible relations with black people that them can't get over. Look at Jim Crow law. How many of you have just go online, enough people, and click and look at some pictures that the white Europeans in America, because them is white Europeans, because them come from all over the place. Them come from Ireland, them come from Italy, them come from all over the place, but mainly from Italy and Ireland, because them place Italy and Ireland, especially Ireland, were so impoverished that people had to flee. And then a lot of them come from England and flee religious persecution. So it's hard for me now to fathom in my head, although it's not hard still, but these immigrants who came over there and killed the original people of this country. Because I don't want to call them Americans neither, because I'm talking a lot of things. I don't want to call them Americans because the land was named for an Italian explorer called Amerigo Vespucci. So the land was called America. So the people who lived there before are not no Native Americans. They lived there before the land was called America. So I have to go find out if I call them. And so the people now who found themselves in these new places with these new laws that were militating against them had to find a way to get out. So in 1965, when all of the civil rights movement started, America is not a bed of roses. People had to be fighting tooth and nail. So race relations are still at a low ebb. It's just that social media and social mobility and social movement from different people have placed them in positions of power. But people in the main are still suffering and are still looking to find a way out of this thing. So can you imagine from 17, let me get the date correct, Let me get the date correct, because this is history class today now, because we don't want nobody leave with the wrong idea and don't know what they are hearing and don't know how it become or it's so. From 1787, laws were in the American Constitution that required and legitimized and recognized slavery. They tried to pass laws to outlaw it, but people just ignore that, because the people in the house who were passing the laws were themselves owners of slaves, were themselves owners of people who they enslaved. We must stop using the word slave. Were themselves owners of people who they had enslaved. And so up until 1965, people in the United States could be caught on the street under Jim Crow laws and hung. And one of the most grisly things they used to do is that they used to stuff dry grass in men's pants and burn out them genitals and then hang them up and stand up and take picture and put it on postcard and sell for $1. You can imagine a man put a picture on a postcard of a man that him hang and I sell it for $1. Those are the race relations in the US. And a lot of it was fed by ideas out of Europe about the fact that who are these men? Are these men? And when they're referred to they're referred to as property of, and man had to hold him head down and couldn't look for massa. That was what we had talked about when it comes to relations. But you know what? More talk, more music.
Jah be praised. The goose and the ghost, let Jah be praised. The Daniel Lamb, let Jah be praised. Let him be praised. Let him be praised. You better let him be praised. He watereth the hills from his chambers, and the earth is satisfied, so satisfied. He maketh the grass to grow for animals. Jah made the herb for man. He made the herb for man. Jah made the herb for man. Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like grass, and they shall wither like now scatter, shatter, batter, and flatter. As the smoke is driven away, Jah drive them away. As the wax melted, let them be melted, Jah Jah. Exhibit, let Jah be praised. Daniel Lamb, let Jah be praised. The goose and the ghost, let Jah be praised. You better let him be praised. Let him be praised. You better let him be praised. I said let him be praised. Oh, lightning.
foundation with the #1 block factory and hardware supplier in Portland. DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies Limited. They have large stocks of high-quality construction and hardware supplies. From electrical, plumbing, painting supplies, and building materials, DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies has you covered. Visit any of their locations in St. Margaret's Bay, Port Antonio, or Buff Bay. Call 993-4415 or 913-3530 or email DIB_block@yahoo.com. DIB Block Factory and Hardware Supplies Limited. Your foundation starts with them.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook, Styles FM 96.1.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio, for a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge, beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the MetaMorphOsis with Dr. Iman Black, live on Styles FM, Mondays 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Them can't kill the Rasta man at all. Them can't kill the Rasta man at all. That's the strangest man I've seen. That's because he's a Rasta man, having the mark of a Nazarene. That's because he's a Rasta man. He carries a prophetical message. That's because he's a Rasta man, warning out of time and out of day. That's because he's a Rasta man. The Rasta come from Zion, Rasta man a lion. Rasta come from Zion, Rasta man a lion. Him Irie, Rasta man. Remember Jeremiah, children, he was a Rasta man. Or even Isaiah, he was a Rasta man. Moses in the pit of mud, he was a Rasta man. Trotting from Buzz Rock with his garment dipped in blood, he was a Rasta man. Oh, Dre, all I want, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a strange, what a righteous, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a dread, hopeful one, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a dread, black, dreadlock one, the Rasta man come from Zion. Lightning. 7 years of famine for 7 years of plenty. It's like 2 grains of wheat for 1 bale of barley. A handful of corn shall be on the hillside. And with that you got to be satisfied. It was Elijah who prayed that it did not rain. He was a Rasta man. He prayed and the rain Joshua, who commanded the sun to stand still. He did that according to his master's will. What a dream, all I want, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a strange, what a dream, put a cup full, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a black dream, up full one, the Rasta man come from Zion. What a strange, dreadlock one, the Rasta man come from Zion. Oh, what a dream.
You know what? We want everyone to call later. 453-1444. 1444. And the same number to WhatsApp. And you can also Gmail, stylesfm@gmail.com. Because later, we'll ask you some questions. We have a little quiz, a little diaspora quiz. And we're going to put some questions out there. When you call in, I'm going to ask you some questions. And so everyone out there in a Boundbrook, everywhere in the area, all the students who are up from Port Antonio, everybody gone sleep to go to school tomorrow. But call in and tell us what you think about what we have said so far, about how black people on the planet have been dispersed in various corners of the earth, and about the different stages of diasporization, and about the fact that there are black people all over South and Central and North America, although they don't want to admit it, that live in countries in which they face persecution, marginalization, and all different kind of izations in order to survive, and people had to fight tooth and nail. Either it was philosophical fight, either it was physical confrontation as in Paul Bogle, or it was something institutional that Marcus Garvey did in building all these wonderful institutions. Marcus Garvey had bakeries, he had newspapers, he kept concerts, he had something called the Black Cross nurses for the ladies, and men who on their normal days, some of them were in their day jobs, they might have been janitors or cleaners, but when it come to convention time, they had rank. They had rank. Marcus Garvey gave them rank and gave them uniform and gave them status that lift themselves. And the Americans, the people who, boy, they had it tough because they lived in a society that was militated against them. And so all they were there from 1600s when the first companies, and I keep stressing, the Americans set up companies. There were steel companies in Pennsylvania. There was North and South Carolina with companies. There was York, and a lot of these states, these original 13 states, were originally the 13 companies set up by Englishmen. George Washington was a general in the army for the Englishmen. He was a loyalist. He was a man who believed in the king. And then he just changed because he said the tide and move against this imperial colonizing process. And so we're looking now at how black people are faring and how are race relations in the U.S. Because when slavery was ended after the Civil War and people, private business owners, begin putting up signs, whites only, no colors allowed, and schools, black people had to bus in students to segregate schools and literally force people. This government had to send in the army to protect students who were going to school. Can you imagine that? And so the society was built on this idea of the inferiority of one people and the superiority of the other people. And there were several cases, Dred Scott case, Plessy versus Ferguson, that were challenging. And it went on into the 20th century, that although there was a Civil Rights Act around from 1875, it was not until 1964 that people got certain civil rights. There was a Civil Rights Act around from 1875, but that Civil Rights Act was never brought into any prominence until 1964. And even then, the Civil Rights Movement of 1964 was launched to look at some of those laws that were already in existence to see if they could be implemented so that people would get redress for a lot of what there is. And so a lot of fables and myths have been developed around even how people live. And some of the myths, we have to get rid of some of the myths and the fables out of our lives and some of the allegories, because fables are not. What are fables? Fables are stories that are told with a lot of animals and characters that are mythological in them. And then allegories are more or less like an extension of a fable, where people use situations to draw attention to them things. But we are more interested in the civil rights movement and the fact that people in the United States and countries outside the United States had to fight tooth and nail to get people rights to be recognized. And as I said before, it was not until 1965 that people started to bust people into schools to get them to clear. Can you imagine 1965 when Jamaica was already independent and people were attending schools freely here? All you had to do was have some money, and high schools were being built here for people. The Americans were still grappling with allowing people to go to schools where, wow, man, trust me, that even Booker T. Washington had to build an institute for black people. And remember, that America probably is the only place where you still have colleges now, as we speak, that are all black, that were built for black people. They had to build a college, they had to build a university for themselves. Tuskegee was another one. And there were people in Raiderland. How many of you can name one university in the States that when it was built for black people? Can you imagine? It was built for black people in a country that is free, where every man has the right to pursue liberty and freedom. But liberty and freedom, for who? The right to pursue liberty and what them say? Freedom and what have you. But for who? For which set of peoples? And the other man who wanted to pursue it, who was born there, because the dilemma African Americans facing was that because of what happened in the country, people were, this is where them talk about studs and bucks and wenches. The Americans bred people to work on slave plantations because after a while they couldn't get anybody from the slave trade. So they had a system where they started to breed up people. Can you imagine that? Like cattle. And so the people who were born in America never knew anywhere else. They hardly had any connection to Africa. They had to recreate their identities to get a sense of self. And so when they were fighting for their right to be, we have to understand. We can't view it from our contemporary lens and say, why them people want to talk about they're black Americans and them have nothing to do with Africa? But we have to understand. It's not understand, we have to understand. And understand what we're going on with and how people like Obama is seen as a breakthrough because he never had in his family any experience of people being enslaved. The president of the United States, the former president of the United States, never had any experience in his family of enslavement because his father wasn't a man who come to Africa and his ancestors were enslaved. A man who come from Kenya, come to America and get involved with a white lady, have a son. So in his DNA, he never have slavery in there. So that's also another picture again, another way to look at it. But you see, up until 2008, People were still facing all kind of things. The Rodney King's beating, the Trayvon Martin killing, the killing where a black man was held by his neck and in a chokehold until he died in the streets. The fact that a lot of American police officers were freed when they kill people. And the fact that you have a little man now who a star in a reality TV show same way, because he's still a star in a reality show. Him a dismiss and I insult everybody in the world except Vladimir Putin. And he also is somebody who, in a very kind of subtle way, and very subtle, and people will admit it, him don't like non-white people. Him don't like them. Because him say Mexicans are thieves. Him say black people, what have you got to lose? Your situation's so bad already, what you have to lose? Vote for me. But he never promised to do nothing for them in them. So what do you have to lose? You're in such a bad situation. This is the man who also go to the UN and tell the African leaders, say, go back to the country because them rich. Go back to your countries. They're rich. But then, him not realize him see him European friend them, I take out the gold and everything out of those countries. And so, we're going to segue now into the idea of fables and mythology. And before we know what myths are, you know, one of the greatest myths is, and we're going to crash Khan, is the virgin birth. The virgin birth that people hold on to. Another myth is, and we're going to crush Khan, another myth is the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in a fire, a burn, and just walk out. Another myth is people walking around the walls of Jericho and just shout, and the wall come down. But we hold on to these things as real. We hold on to these things as real. And there are many myths like that somehow have become real. So we're going to ask the people them to call. We'll tell you one more time the numbers, 453-1444, because the time is coming when you must call in, you know, and have a talk with I and I at 11 o'clock. What? 10 minutes, 11, 12, 30. You go and call in and talk to I and I about what we have spoken about so far, about race, gender, about national heroes. What does that mean? About the race relations in the US that we're still talking about now, because it's a very important thing. Because a lot of people in Jamaica, as I said before, have connections in the United States and need to understand and learn that if certain laws are passed, it will affect your relatives. And they've already been just sending people home. Six-year-old people go to America, fall of the law, and they just send them back. And they have no connection here, you know. And so the mythologies that we live and the way we construct our lives around believing certain things is very important. Fables, you know, Aesop tells fables about, and he use them as allegorical. Fables are also very allegorical, like the fox and the grapes, fox and sour grapes, you know, Androcles and the lion, them kind of thing. They're written by Aesop. How many of you know that Aesop was a black man? How many of you know that? And he was so good that one of his enslaved master gave him some grape to eat, and the grape them sour like it, and he eat them until so them taste good. So the man free him, you know. So these allegories and these mythologies have impacted our lives in a very serious way. The crucifixion of Christ on the cross, and the fact that one man on him right and one man on him left, and crosses too. So you see that Jesus was the only man who was crucified. There were many other people who were crucified. Crucifixion. Crucifixion. Crucifixion was the way the Romans used to kill people. When them capture prisoners, them crucify them. And on the way sometime to Rome, it was a very stink path. Because on either side of the road, you'd have crosses with people nailed onto the crosses. So Jesus the Christ wasn't the first man who was crucified with the two thieves them beside him. The Romans crucify everybody. man and woman, nail them up. Some of them just tie them up and just juke them to them side and just left them there as a reminder to the people that they mustn't challenge Rome. So there's another myth. There's another myth. And there are many other myths that we have come to believe. You believe say a man named Samson could have used a jawbone and kill 1,000 man? The jawbone of a ass. Him just take it up and just start kill 1,000 people. And nobody with an axe or a bow and arrow or anything could kill him down. But you know what? The people who believe in those things are going to say that is the power of God within him that allowed him to do that. And so even when it's said to somebody, this is ridiculous. No. So there's another myth. Again. And then there are some other kind of fables too as well. Unicorns and horses and a man with a half body and a half this. Half my body is a horse and the other part is a man. And we revel in these myths and these fables and these allegories as though they have defined our lives. And even Rastafari to have a myth, and everybody have mythology. I mean, mythology is a way that people use to create meanings in their lives, you know. But you have to have knowledge. You have to have knowledge and don't make the mythology become something that you hold onto as reality. As reality. And then they're going to ask you, what's the difference between reality and mythology? What's the difference between reality and mythology? Is perception greater than reality? Or is reality perception? How do you perceive death? I pass into, where did I see a sign? I don't know if it's on my way here somewhere. But I pass and I see on the wall, ISIS written on the wall. The man, they are living a myth. They are living a fantasy. You think you can go become a member of ISIS and strap on a belt with grenades and walk into Mega Mart and pull the pin and kill people inside there? You don't have the courage to do that. So stop embracing this mythology about being ISIS. So we have to be very careful. We're talking to the people them out in the world, people in America, people wherever you are listening to this program. Send a text, send a WhatsApp message, 453-1444. Send an email, stylesfm@gmail.com. Or check the Facebook, Styles FM Portland, and make a contribution, make an input, have a voice, say something about Heroes Day, say something about what is happening in America with race relations, and answer this question: what is diaspora? What is diaspora? Who are the people who are diasporas? And name some countries out of which black people came from West Africa to this part of the world to be a part of this world as we move down.
Take us to work. Take us on the go. Take us wherever you go. Styles FM.
Take Styles FM with you on the go. The number for USA 213-992-4360. That's 213-992-4360. And for the United Kingdom, 033-0010-3322. That's 033-0010-3322.
Styles FM. This is Ricardo Suave, inviting you to tune into Smoothic, the show for the ladies, with DJ Prestige, from 9 to midnight every Tuesday on Styles 96.1 FM, Portland's best.
I've been watching you.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, conveniently located at 15 Boundbrook Crescent, Port Antonio, for a large space of single and double rooms at reasonable rate, Wi-Fi, cable TV, breakfast to order, 24-hour security, CC cameras, parking, snack bar and lounge, beautiful scenery of the Caribbean Sea. We're willing to assist with additional accommodation, such as fridge in your room, coffee machine, and so much more. Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House, proud sponsor of the MetaMorphOsis with Dr. Iman Black, live on Styles FM, Mondays, 9 p.m. to midnight. Call Boundbrook Hilltop Guest House at 715-1644.
Yeah, welcome forward, you know. Right now we just open the lines for those who want to shout out and who want to make a link. You know, Iman Black, sitting in for Iman Black today is OSAGBORO. If the one them want to yell up, even Iman Black in I'm absence, because I'm not really absent. I'm just not here right now. You know, you can call 453-1444. One day we have to go bring some live drumming in the studio and bring it in. But we are concerned. Yes. We are concerned that people in Jamaica are not very, very alert. Everybody is stuck into their contemporary culture. And we have to get outside of that. We have to start learning to speak more. We have to start learning to read more. We have to start learning to research more. And we have to stop talking about this is my opinion. And nobody can tell me what to say. I have some questions to ask the other when I'm calling, you know. But the other have to call in too. For example, what does diaspora mean? That's a number one. And all of those other things that we spoke about today. You know. And so as we wait for you, I'm going to just give a little run over again of some of the things that we spoke about. You know, the plight of black people on the planet. It is very instructive to observe that in every single continent on the face of the earth you can find black people. And it would be very interesting to run out some DNA tests in the Spanish people and in the British. As I said before, there's a place, I went to London and saw a place called Blackfriars Bridge, and it never occurred to me that this place was named because, you know, in the Catholic Church, there's a man called a friar. I don't know in the kind of hierarchy of church leadership where a friar would fall. But the place was called Blackfriars Bridge because all of the people who lived there, you know, the Catholic Church have a way where the priests and whoever they are in the hierarchy live in a place. That's called a monastery or whatever. And them live there. And the place was called Blackfriars Bridge because all of the friars were black men who live at this place. And so, and I told you before already, in France, it was commonplace for royalty to associate with black people. And it wasn't anything demeaning to associate with black people. And in my most recent revelation is when I saw the Rohingya crisis. And I'm repeating. And I realized that 90% of the Rohingya people are people of dark skin. And as a youth growing up, there was an island called Ceylon. And I used to collect stamps and keep them. I don't know how much you remember stamp collection. It's to collect stamps, keep them. And then I don't know why I'm to Ceylon, but it never existed anymore. Only to realize it was renamed Sri Lanka. And so the first time I saw Sri Lankans was when I saw cricketers from Sri Lanka. And I was taken aback and I said, wait, I'm a black man then. Black people. Mulitaran and Malinga and Da Silva and all of these wonderful cricketers who come revolutionize the game in the way black people do. Because them revolutionized the what them call it, the 50 over game. But for the first 5 or 15 overs, the man would make 100 runs and change the game. It's a black man. When you look at the people, the Aborigines in Australia, these are black men, and the way they track. When you look at the Fijians, the Samoans, these are black people. When you look at a lot of the Indonesians, these are black people. When you look at the people in the Indus Valley, these are black people. And unfortunately, a lot of the untouchables in India, these are black people. When you look at whole populations in the south of Mexico, it's black people. Peru, black people. Ecuador, Honduras, Panama, black people. In Uruguay, they made a deliberate effort to import hundreds and thousands of white people from Spain to come live there because, as I said, after the reconquest in 1492, the Spanish economy was very much destroyed, and so they expanded outward. But you hear what? The ironic thing is that when they were expanding outwards to seek new lands, the charge that was given to the conquistadors the men who knew only war. Because after 100 years, a man who grew up knew only war. The men who knew only war. A part of the charge to them by Isabella was that they must go out and Christianize who them find. So apart from looking for land, in their mind they were also spreading Christianity. And it wasn't spreading Christianity in a way where you offer people the choice. They never had a choice. It's either you become a Christian or them just chop off your head. There's a story about a leader in, I forget, in the either Maya, a Mayan leader, and in Aztec leader. And them offer the man Christianity, and when he questioned them, he killed them. And it's the same thing with Africans. Read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Or Achebe recounts the dilemma that a character in the book called Akwanko faced when faced with Christianity as a choice for his people, and the dilemma he faced with that. And so this is what have faced black people who have been diasporized the world over. The dilemma that they face when they are given no choice. You're given no choice. When a man said to you, if you convert, fine. But if you don't, you're in trouble. That's not a choice. It's a threat. It's a threat. When a man says, I'll kill you if you don't convert to my religion, that's a threat. But they're telling us that they gave people a choice. And so again, gentle people out there, this is Osagboro, Osayimwese OSAGBORO. Just co-hosting for Iman Black this night. We used to do this years ago. This is not the first time MetaMorphOsis is on here. Iman Black will tell you that. So I have been here not many times, unfortunately. But I am glad to sit in this illustrious chair for I bridging Dr. Iman Black, who has done so much to carve out this program so that a lot of ones can listen and feel free to come. So one of the conscious ones out there who are listening, all of Dr. Iman Black's listeners, to feel free that he has not left unceremoniously or anything. He just needed a little personal space. You see? And that's another thing. I also want to address the whole issue of the violence that our young people are perpetuating as a result of lack of self. Because a lot of it is they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are, and parents don't know how to articulate to them who they are. And so they explode. And the men who are leading them, they themselves need leadership. Because as once there was a scenario I saw where a leader, a rebel leader in a country, decided to carry his army into like a city, you know, like a little township. And this was in West Africa. And when he was going into the township, he saw some women walking towards him. Them never have on the top, so them brace out the door. And him just a walk come. And one of the women asked him, so, if you kill all the people here in this town, and you kill the people in the next town and the next town, when you're finished, who will you have to rule? Who would you have to rule? And the leader sat on his tank, because all the women have was their bodies. They never had any guns, never had any offensive weapon. They just stood. And the sister just asked him that. And he turned around and drove away. She said, when you kill all these people, who will you rule? So I want to ask the young men, why are you killing so many people? What's the reason? If it's money, there's a man named Lee Iacocca who was a rich businessman, was the head of a company called Chrysler in the States. And one day, him was being interviewed by some journalists who asked him how rich he was. And he said, well, if I could tell you that, then I couldn't be rich. I'm rich. Years after, just coincidentally, the same reporter saw Lee Iacocca standing in a soup kitchen, lined up with one of the containers to get the evening's meal, and asked him again. And he said, well, I suddenly realized that no matter how much money you have, if it can be counted, it can be finished. Mine finished. So a lot of the youths out there who are doing these heinous acts, how is it that you don't realize that whatever you're killing for is not a means to an end? You know? But I said go. We see a thing, we say shout out to my friend Andrine, Windsor Forest, coming from diaspora. This is the dispersion of the Jews beyond Israel. But it's not only Jews, you know. It has been adopted now. This term has been adopted by intellectuals in the African diaspora to also. So I'm responding to this message from 858821543. I'm responding to it. Yes, that's originally correct, but it has been appropriated now by black intellectuals and other intellectuals who have found that other people have also been dispersed, either forcefully or by choice, because as we say that originally Africans were dispersed through colonization. They were also, and Chinese were dispersed through indentured labor. Look at the large Chinese community in Jamaica. Look at the large Indian community. So other people have been dispersed and other people have been diasporized. And if you go to London, for example, you'll find large numbers, hundreds of thousands of people from other countries who have found home in those other countries. So that's also a diaspora. And so a diaspora is a dispersal. That's true, but it's not only Jews now. Okay? It has been appropriated by other scholars to also look at their diasporization as well. And even though the Jews have been diasporized, remember that in the 1940s when Israel was established, Jews can return home. They can return home, so that there are people who have gone to live in Israel who were born in various European countries. And so, yes, it was by them. But how many black people outside of Africa who were not born there have that closeness that they can go back? We can't return so easily. If we do return, we have to return on a level where we can participate in the rebuilding of the place we are going to. Because one of the dangers that people outside of Africa, of African descent, face is that I don't want them to think that they're going to carry development to Africa. Because Africans are insulted if you're going to come from outside of the country to say, oh wow, I'm from the West. I know what development is. Here I come. So yes, shout out to my friend Andrine in Scoturn and Sheena up our Windsor Forest, coming from Terre. Yes, Terre, I see it. So I hope you heard the response there. I don't know if it's Terre is a male or a female, but so I responded again. The dispersion of Jews beyond Israel is more than just the Jews now. People have, in the 1950s and the 60s, American intellectuals kind of just used the word and, kind of appropriated the word to also address the dispersal of Africans from Africa, right? You can remember also that apart from forceful dispersal, there's also willing people left willingly. Look at Jamaica. In the 1940s, a ship named the Windrush carried many Caribbean people, and a lot of Jamaicans were on the ship too. A lot of the Windrush carried people from Jamaica to London, and a lot of them lived there, and some of them come back every now and again, but in the main they stayed there for years and had children, and their children had children, and those children now see Jamaica as almost like a mecca for reconnecting. So yes, the dispersal is far and wide. So you could also look at it and say there's a Jamaican diaspora in London and in the States as well, because there are millions. I hear that there are probably 2 million Jamaicans outside of Jamaica, which should mean that if everybody were to return here, you probably would have 4 million people in Jamaica, or 4 point something million people in Jamaica. So diaspora becomes a very complex kind of engagement intellectually to look at how people have evolved in their new locality. Because even me don't know an African country. Me never go Africa yet. But me connected to Africa, because that's how me identify myself as an African. Me all have an African name. Me one of the few Jamaicans who in a Jamaica and adapt to African name. Because even a lot of brethren and sisters who say I'm an African, they don't really have an African name. Them still, I walk around and I refer to them last name as surname. Me don't have no surname no more. I man not have surname no more, S-I-R. And them take out the I and put U. So all that is a consequence of dispersal and diaspora. Remember, you know, when black people came to here, and other people too, it's not only black people, when any persons who were enslaved came to this new land where we live in, one of the things they did was took away your religion and your language, and literally rebranded you. So in a Jamaica, you find 100 man named Smith, and they might tell you, say, we're not related. Even if you're not related by blood, the name, the very fact that you have the same last name meant that at a certain point in the development of the history of your ancestors, one man would own all of your ancestors them, and him name everybody. And even today's heroes, they look on this. Samuel Sharp, one of our heroes, carries his master's name. The man who did enslave Sam Sharp said to him, say, you're a good man. I'm going to give you my name. Just check that out. Check that out. So we could have renamed him, would have no could have renamed him, so we just say Sam Sharp. So yes, diaspora is the dispersal of Jews beyond Israel, but it has been appropriated by intellectuals in the 50s and the 60s in the United States to address the issue of the dispersal of African people outside of Africa from the 1600s, from the 1400s. Because as I said, remember earlier, in the United States in late 1600s, they swapped black people for food. So there is forceful dispersal, there's forceful diasporization. Forceful, you go capture people and carry them somewhere else. That's forceful. After a while, people started to go, because here the dilemma where European societies face. Because you project yourself as the center of, development and morality and good governance and democracy and stability and the possibility to actualize oneself. They make you feel as though in order to actualize yourself, if you go to America or to the US or to France, you'll have a better chance and there are more opportunities. And yes, people have migrated and earned and come back. But I observe that the people who go away and earn and come back, it takes them a long while. It takes them a long while to do it legitimately. And so the dilemma that these societies face is that because they present themselves as centers where people can actualize themselves, people start gravitate towards it. People start go there. And when people start coming droves, no, them still right. We never planned for this. Yeah, but if you project yourself like that as being developed, you're a developed country. And there are other people out there who see you and want to come to your country. And then now, you start this whole wave of, far right behavior. They don't want some immigrants come to your country to live. And the greatest immigrant country in the world is the United States. It's made up of immigrants and pirates. Them not gonna like that still, but I pirate them, man. And looters. And them have enough things for answer for too, as well. So 453-1444 or Facebook, Styles FM, Portland. Link me, the man. One response from Ter. Big up Ter. We see say y'all listen. I'm going to ask another question, Ter. If you can answer that one day. The other one we're going to ask. But it's Pan-Africanism people. We're going to give 3 questions. Who was Jomo Kenyatta? What did he do? What did he do? Who was Kwame Nkrumah? What did he do? We're going to give 2 more. Enough people. Appear bright people out there. What is the OAU? What does it mean? Where is the headquarters located? When did Italy invade Ethiopia? Enough question. Let me tell them again. Who was Jomo Kenyatta? What did he do? Who was Kwame Nkrumah? What did he do? What is the OAU? Where is the headquarters of the OAU located? When did Italy? First, Italy invaded Ethiopia 2 times. And the 2 times, they were eventually defeated. Because Ethiopia was one of those countries that was not invaded by Europe. Apart from enslaving Africans and take them out of Europe, out of Africa to Europe, Europe also went back and cut up Africa and shared up among themselves. A serious thing for us to redress that. West Africa was split up and shared up. In West Africa, you have French-speaking, English-speaking, even have Spanish-speaking countries. One man named Leopold of Belgium said that the Congo was his personal property. He said it was his personal property, and yet he chopped off the hands of people in there. So Europeans also, apart from taking people out of Africa and enslaving them, Europeans also went back now. And in the Berlin Conference of 1884, correct me if I don't get the date right, people out there, I think it's 1884, they sat down and they just draw lines and said, this is yours, this is yours, this is yours. It's much the same way they do the so-called New World to the Americas. The man them draw a line. They were treating him the Treaty of Tordesillas. And them draw a line. And piece of the line go through Brazil. You don't see it. And so the rest of it of the Spanish. Which one is this? Press this. Hail.
Greetings.
Greetings.
How you do?
This is Osa. Hail.
The first time I hear the man.
Yeah, man. I've been here before still, but it's the first in a long while.
No. I'm not even speaking of the man in a personal way.
Okay.
I'm speaking of the station.
Oh, the station. Well.
Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome to Styles FM.
It's the first time.
Well, give thanks.
I hear it and I call.
Well, that is a very good sign then.
I hear the man up upon some good reasoning still in terms of really educating.
Yeah, man. That's what we are here for, you know.
Indeed.
That's what we're here for.
I don't even know what the man names.
I'm named Osaboro.
Osawa?
Osaboro. My last name is Osaboro. Osaboro, yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, man. You can just call me Osa.
Osa.
Yes, my brother. What do I name?
Me now. Me name.
This come like a mystical thing now, you know.
Yeah, me name Derek Palmer.
Derek Palmer. All right, Mr. Palmer. Where you calling from, sir?
Eh?
Where you calling from?
I call the man from Linstead.
Linstead? Ooh,
yeah.
That's great. I live in St. Catherine still, and I live in Brunswick Avenue. That's where I live.
Oh, that's a Spanish town.
Yeah, that's where I live. I just
man,
come over.
So the man come from Spain.
Yeah, I just come over here to help out my brethren, you know.
Saying.
Absent.
Yeah, as I say, I hear the man with some reasoning still, you know.
Yeah, man.
And for truth, I check for the reasoning still.
That's great.
You know, and I say, well, but touch base with the man still.
Yeah, man, give thanks. You can't answer any of the questions them when me ask.
Eh?
You can't answer any of the questions them when me ask.
Run them again now.
One of them was, who was Jomo Kenyatta?
Okay, Jomo Kenyatta was the first president, independent Kenya.
All right.
Yeah, man, Kenya. Independent Kenya. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I'm on tried the land already. Yeah.
Boy, blessed the eye, because I would have loved to do that myself.
Yeah, man. I'm on.
Which country? Which country?
Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm on tried Kenya already, man.
The land of great runners.
Spend some time. Well, when I say some time, no big time, like 2 weeks or so.
Enough time that same way.
It was more like a conference.
It was a conference.
There.
Okay.
Yeah, at time and try to understand still, although, but me have Kenyan brethren and sisters from a longer time, so I'm on base and all them things, I'm on circle.
Yeah.
And so on, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Give thanks for the link, my brethren. Give thanks.
What the other question, MB?
Who was... No, you're going to know that one that you know. Who was Kwame Nkrumah? What did he do?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kwame Nkrumah was the president of Ghana, man.
Mm-hmm.
Kwame. Yeah, man.
I know him was a Gaviite.
I wouldn't doubt it.
He was a Gaviite because...
Yeah, I think so.
You know, see the color of the flag of Ghana.
Straight facts, you know why?
Yeah, the color of the flag of Ghana, black, green, and gold, you know. And he was a student, a law student in London.
You know, Kwame, yeah, but him studied law in England.
Here where him go, here where him here, he heard Garvey. Garvey used to go to a place named Hyde Park in London, go talk. And
I think we know Hyde Park.
Yeah, man. And Kwame Nkrumah would hear Garvey's speeches and was influenced by Garvey to go back home and led the independence and led Ghana to independence. Okay. So much so that all Ghana football team now named the Black Stars.
Okay.
Because of the black star in the flag of Ghana.
I know, of the black star.
Yeah, the black star.
I didn't make the link.
Yeah, man. And the color of the flag of Ghana is black, green, and gold. It's black, green, and red. With a black star in the middle. So. Yeah.
I didn't make the link.
Yeah, man.
What was the other one now?
The other one is, when did Italy invade Ethiopia? When was the first time?
Wait, no. Oh, the first, was it?
A two-time.
I know. I think there was that one in 1930.
Yes, but there was one time before that.
Yeah, this is the part that I can't recall.
It was 1896.
Oh, yeah.
At the Battle of Adwa.
That wasn't too sure.
Yeah,
but
man.
the 1930 was when Selassie moved out and got England.
Yes, because Mussolini was the invader at that time.
Going after him, yeah.
But here, Mussolini was a, I don't know what them call it, but he was a soldier without rank in the 1896 invasion. You know.
He managed to head the country.
And he managed to head the country and end up, when His Majesty defeat him back, him end up get hung in Italy. Upside down.
Yeah. Mussolini, let me see. Have I been to Italy or not?
You sound like a world traveler, my brother.
No, not to. No, I haven't. No. Italy? No.
You're a world traveler?
No, well, the works. When
the works.
Man, he make them living out of desolate places, you know.
All right.
So I did some tradition in works like in Europe. Well, in England, spend some time in Belgium. And and try to. In fact, I give you a joke. The second city in Belgium, I cannot recall this so readily, but it's not you have the capital, Brussels, and
Brussels.
Then we tried from like ground transportation, go out there, and me come back from plane and them thing there.
Okay.
But I spent, I think, about 2 weeks out there.
All right.
And I stayed with a family. And the lady said to me one Sunday morning, she said, all right, make we go walk the town. And I said, gosh, man, what the hell the town name, man? A lot of the African coming through the port.
All right, yes.
So them say, so she said, I'm a tried out then we walk past a building. No, we will walk up to a building. And she said, you know that, no, some don't know nothing about just her. She said, that place is where they store the blood diamond.
The blood diamonds?
Yeah, the African
from the Congo.
Diamonds from Africa.
From the Congo?
Yeah, blood diamond,
from the Congo, man.
Yeah, my man, they bring it in.
Leopold.
Yeah, and I been there, I kind of lose track of time, date and thing. So I pass this and I decide I knock the shutter. Cause I decide if I in them that like talk to the guy who handle it. Are they straight, No, I'm serious,
Yeah, we understand.
And when she said, no, it's not open today. I said, why? She said, no, man, today is Sunday. So I said, Rockstone, tell me lose track of them time there.
Yeah.
And then now I said, she said, yes, I eat them store the blood diamond.
I imagine.
She family and thing. I mean, me step back, man, and give the door, the shutter 3 kick.
You want to see it?
Only for nice and thing the shutter make. And then must think so mad man. And then me just walk answer because of course the shutter down and me can't get in. But all of us on the strike, my man, that I go and go find a money and reason with them about them diamond.
Yeah, because
I would even like to check it too, but it never did that. So me just step back and kick it, man. Kick the shutter.
What a response.
And move on.
What a response. What a response.
So me say, well...
I talk about that today. I talk about how Leopold and Belgium.
Yeah.
You see a lot of black people in Belgium?
The blood diamond, the man with them store, the African...
Yeah, them rob the place.
Yeah, plunder.
Did you see a lot of black people in Belgium when you were there?
Huh?
When you were in Belgium, did you see a lot of black people?
No, hey, I tell you a story now.
Or is it a place where they go to?
No. I know. You wouldn't believe it, but I am blind.
Okay.
Yeah, man. But in my work, that was one of the areas that I have a course. So I never necessarily see, black people, but black people was there.
I can imagine, because the reason I ask, is that right now the Belgian football team, the big national team, we go World Cup, half of the players are black men.
Well, clearly.
Half of them are black men. Lukaku and the big strikers.
I am not
black men.
Surprised. I never much problems there. But you know, I tried in Belgium, I tried on a spot. And I think a 4 country meet at a spot there, you know. 4 country, I stand up there and the man say, boy, you see, have a 4 country, you know, brethren. Right, that's all. Yeah, you know, but borders,
Which
because
4
all of them are
borders
land
that?
borders.
Which 4
you know.
borders that?
Land borders.
He will tell you?
Say that?
Did he tell you which borders those were?
Yeah, no, I heard all of them, man. I think 4 countries did it. 4 countries, right, and them have a memorial there, and I think them put up a building there too, and a brethren kind of gather. The brethren were responsible when they give me the history still.
Yeah, because enough atrocities.
Cutting Dutch and all them places.
Enough atrocities the Belgians go on with down today's
and it's a
Congo.
small country, no?
And
it's not the biggest country in Germany, it's one of the smallest.
And Belgium are one of the largest countries in Africa.
Belgium.
The Congo are one of the largest. The Congo are one of the largest.
The Congo, yeah.
And that's the Belgians go there, so go rob the place.
But you know, the
chop off all the people them hand.
The problem that I find though in all the Congo and so on, them up to now, them no settle down, them you know, the respect for each other and so on. They've been so ravaged and divided.
But you think
problems in appreciating each other.
Yeah, but you think it go so easy after like 200-300 years of remember, you know, when Leopold left Belgium, you know, not even one hospital, not even one school.
Yeah.
When the man left the country, them left the country like, you know, when you go in a mud hut and you see dirt on the floor.
Him really plunder.
I saw them left there. I saw him. You know him call Belgium in personal possession. You know.
Yeah. I remember.
And so
that
after 200-300 years of rob and
rape, it
was
his fiefdom, man.
Yes, man. When the man left the country, man, him left the country in a dire straits.
No, man. But it's not just him alone, bro.
No, it's Europeans in general.
Develop plunder man. I mean, look, them plunder you too, you know.
Lalo.
It can't plunder you.
Hey, before I don't know if
man did work for nothing, you know. Man did have to work for nothing, and slave and all that thing then, and produce the sugar man and send it across.
After slavery too, because I have one thing named apprenticeship where you work for 6
man,
years without
I think
money.
the apprenticeship is after about 4 years.
You work for 4 years without money. You can't imagine you work for 4 years and you not get paid.
Exactly. You run for 4 years.
You not get paid and you're a big man. And you work for 4 years and not
I mean, and if the man grumble to man, gonna clap the man tail.
Yeah, just run your way.
Yeah, run away. You go to go suffer.
Yeah.
Unless you find some other brethren in the woods where we take you in.
And that's how enough black people end up living in a hillside in a hills in Jamaica.
Yeah, them take for the hills.
You know, we're gonna leave your son just go up in the hills and go farm.
Yeah.
The white man no want
because of him survival, that helps him not dead hungry.
Yeah, I go up in the hills go farm.
Something plant something we can run quick and tell him gather and
go plant cane and pack show and callaloo and
man. If the plant something or check a brethren where did step earlier.
Yeah.
Man, we're dead for hungry still.
Yeah.
Because it was the point of running them off then go suffer and dead, you know.
Yes.
That was the objective.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Well, I'm glad for your link, Jano.
Yeah, well, as I say.
I remember every Monday from 9 to 12, you must start tuning in now. Since you encounter this program and you call in for the first time and you're listening for the first time and you call in, so make sure, I'm going to tell I Man Black said I call in.
Yeah, man, me.
So you must
well, through the US, me tried. I want to tell you, I study in some place. I study in Israel, you know.
Israel too?
Yeah, man. I get a scholarship and go across and study over there.
Yeah.
And and so on. Yeah. Jerusalem and all them places. Yeah. But I never go there with any religious fervor or anything. I go there as a student to beat the book.
All right then.
And some scholarship thing, and I go there and beat the book and return, you know.
Yeah. But give thanks for the call, because we have to free up the space now.
I
with some other ones. And Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, Derek Palmer. Man.
Derek Palmer. Glad to hear the advice. Here, sir.
Give thanks.
More strength.
More strength.
Blessed and honor.
Take care. Honor.
All right, we give thanks to Mr. Palmer from Linstead. Same I hear the program for the first time. And him just call, so what a strength and what a blessing. And so we are go down at the time. Boy, I tell you, the time run fast, see? 11:45 now, you know. And we want to know, say, we have 2 more questions, you know. Everybody must know this. What was Amy J.S. Garvey's role when Marcus Garvey passed away? And why did Italy invade Ethiopia? And where is the head of the OAU? You know what the OAU is? Organization of African Unity. Where is it located? Where is the head of the OAU located? And what is the OAU? And so these are some of the questions. And the brethren just call is a world traveler. Man say him go Israel and him go Belgium and him go Africa, go London. And we're glad for that. And the man say him blind. So you see people out of earth, you don't want to hear no excuse from nobody. Because enough man can do enough things. And so going through, you know, going down, we're going to listen to 2 look rhythm before we turn out our head people. All right? 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's grandma this time, 62 years old.
All right.
I am stylish and I call in a game on Rita Palmer.
All right.
So you try and get that one to get my number because it's supposed to be family. Palmer is Palmer.
All right, Palmer. So, okay, Palmer is Palmer.
I'm getting a lot of knowledge from you. I'm just making note because grandma's brain is not as good as yours, but I have my.
No, your brain is as good as mine.
All right.
Your brain is as good as mine.
Okay,
from here, I learn.
Sure. I'm at college, man. I'll pass it on to the younger folks what I learned tonight.
Give thanks. Please do that. And more strength here. Where Mark, where him say? Even though you have to work for a few years without money for apprenticeship, you get to learn a trade that can feed you for the rest of your life. That is better than college. Then you know things that the people them who have you at work for them and make money. When you are work as an apprentice for a man, for your oppressor, that's the problem with some of we analyze things, you know. So you Mark, you don't go work for a man for 4 years without money right now. When if you do that? How you feel if you're me did know a man named Mr. Blake when me was a youth and never have this consciousness now. I used to talk to Mr. Blake. And Mr. Blake used to complain bitterly about when he was a young man and work for years and couldn't even buy a pants. And him say when him done work, him couldn't get no work. Because nobody now hire him because of them things. So you know in your contemporary observation of that apprenticeship, do appreciate the fact that a lot of people were disenfranchised because of it. Because if you're going to teach a man a trade, when I was trained as a teacher in the 70s, they used to send us on something named internship. But they paid us as well. They pay us. It wasn't full pay, but it was some money. So why in the apprenticeship period, the slave master who was compensated, he must compensate it and still have to turn on and get free labor. Think about that. During the apprenticeship period where you talk about, yes, I just text say, the slave master was compensated by give money. $20 million was given for the slave owners in the Caribbean. It wasn't just for Jamaica alone, it's for the Caribbean. So they were compensated, so they get money. And on top of the money, they also get free labor. So Mark, if you're a coach now, I would like you to go work without money for 4 years. And how would you fund yourself to go there? How would you fund yourself to go there? And so that's the question. That's the question. And a lot of those men who learn those skill, as you say, skill, in the 21st century, skill is an insult to people who want to earn something. But I'm not sure that if you would do that. I think you're just saying that, but I'm not sure if you would do that. It says Coach Mark. I'm assuming that you're either a football coach or a track coach. You know, but that was more oppression though. Nobody, I don't agree with that, Mark. But to each his own opinion, you know, and we're here to reason with each other. So you have to. Where are you, Mark? Which country are you? No, I never said they pay me when I went to college. You know, I said I did something called internship when I was in college. And while I was on the internship, they gave me some money. You have a show and style every Wednesday night. Okay. But we're just looking at history contemporaneously. So we can't understand what people must have gone through to have gone through those years of apprenticeship. Because they objected. They objected. When you read the history, they objected. The people who ran it, you have some men call themselves stipendiary magistrates. They were in charge of it. And so they couldn't deal with it after a while. Even the magistrates were paid £300 a year to see this apprenticeship system work. They complained against it because they said the conditions were so horrible that people were dying. Even the magistrates themselves were given a horse, and in those days £300. No, me not talk about right now. Me not talk about no Jamaican man I go work for the man for 4 years without money right now. Me not think nobody that do that. Ask any youth in a Port Antonio right now if he would have worked for Mr. Man for 4 years and not get the money. The guys of learning a trade. If you're teaching somebody, you can, and you're earning money from their labor. The two of us are working on this trade, and you say, playing this piece of wood, and I'm planing it. But when me done playing it for you, take it and put it in our furniture and sell it. And you not give me none out of it. Not even 1/10. That's the oppression, Coach Mark. You know. What you doing in China, sir? Studying? Say, I'm in China right now, but I live in America. And you do the show from America. You do the show and styles every Wednesday night from America. Technology for you, don't it? If that's what you do. But we're going down, you know, we give thanks for the sharing, Mr. Palmer, and then the lady call and say she named Palmer too. And we say Mark now in China. What a marveling. What time is it now in China, Mark? What time is it in China? Is it like 12 a.m. or 12 noon over there? It's at 12 a.m. But not 12 a.m. yet over here. It's 2:12. So I don't know how much hours ahead. How much hours ahead are you? 12 hours ahead of us? That looks like 12 hours. Looks like 12:53 p.m. Oh wow. It's like a whole day. So it's which day that over there now? Today is Tuesday? It's Tuesday in China. Yeah, God. 13 hours ahead. Yeah, it's another day. Full joy yourself at the trade show, my brother. And so this is Osa. I don't know if you know me still. Yeah, I suspect it's Tuesday. That's great. So keep yourself going well, you know. And we're coming down to one more show, and we have we have reached a point where we are glad for the interaction. Today we looked at, several issues, and people said they have learned something. I'm glad. Anytime I share knowledge and people identify with it, I'm grateful. We look at race, gender. We look at people on the planet. I will do that. Mark, Coach Mark. Because wherever in the world we can listen. What kind of show is it? We look at identity, which is very serious. Mark, you saying the black people in China, other than yourself. We not talk students like people who live there and speak Chinese. You're saying the black people who speak Chinese in China. Like I'm observing when you watch sports, you realize that there's a black sprinter in Japan, and then there's a girl. No, she play none at all. Then there's a girl who play lawn tennis from Japan too. Well, she different because she live in America, but she decided to play for Japan. So this is it. It's 5 minutes to 12. We give thanks for the shout. We give thanks to Bournebrook for keeping us. We give thanks to Styles FM for hosting this MetaMorphOsis, a different show, where people can listen to and learn. That is the idea of this. Not purely just entertainment, but edutainment, where people can listen and learn from there. A lot from Africa. Yes, there's a bookmark. You must get it. It named 100 Years of China in Africa. A lot of people don't know about it. I have it. A very interesting book to read. 100 Years of China in Africa. So how are you listening us? You're on the internet listening. But that's good. So we give thanks for the time that we have spent here. I will observe, as I said before, how Bonnie Whale is getting big award today in an African outfit, looking very kingly, And we examine race relations in the US. I don't know what America is going to do, because the pundits who speak about how America is saying, they say, this is not America. This is not who we are. We're a more diverse people. Please, come on. Stop placating and massaging your own egos, America. You have always been a very divided, racist society. Get real and start assessing. Anyway, that's it. All right, Mark. Take care of yourself. Have a good journey home when you go forward to America. And look at the situation the black people in America are in, and make some good assessment. Yeah. All right, people. Tonight's still in. In the Menameshu, I'm going to introduce this to you. In the Menameshu, it means good evening. It's Amharic. In the Menameshu. In the Menwalo. In the Mendero. Good evening, good morning, good night. All at the same time. What is the name before? The minute before 12 is what? Midnight. The minute after 12 is what? Midnight. Same way. So, eye sound and word sound and power. Word sound is power. Give thanks. And tuning out. MetaMorphOsis. With I Osayimwese OSAGBORO. So, maybe some other Mondays I will forward. Know that I am read TYRED. And have some more time on I hands. So give thanks again to people for the link. Blessings Anana. Your time.
Reaping what I sow, that ain't right now. Who is the one I'd like to know? Do you think it is an easy thing to be out there working when the sun is burning? Oh, the rain is falling. Guide guide I feel peace and harmony. It is in silence that we will always hear. Sit quiet and meditate, let the good vibes infiltrate. Even when it's dark, don't you ever have no fear, yeah. Cast away your troubles, I say, just for a moment or a day, yeah. Guiding I eternally. Guide it's the voice that sets me free. Guide whispering inside of me. Guide I feel peace and harmony. Our inner voice, hey, it guides us along the way, yeah. In the night, oh yeah, this I heard it say. Lift up your heart, take it to the higher place.